The world's largest tech companies are pledging to stop the spread of terrorist propaganda at all costs. Google, Facebook, and Twitter are looking at ways to eliminate all forms of extremist content. The United Kingdom's Home Secretary Amber Rudd met with executives of the companies after the Westminster terrorist attacks, and all of them plan on working together. The three companies released a joint statement saying, quote, "Working against terrorism is not a competitive issue within the industry." And this is all happening as big-name advertisers are dropping Google, AT&T, Verizon, Johnson & Johnson, some of the names to pull their ads off Google's various platforms. Commercials for these brands showed up on YouTube videos which promoted terrorist propaganda and other forms of hate. And here with us to talk more about those ads being pulled from web platforms is Dean Crutchfield. He is the CEO of the Dean Crutchfield Company. Dean, good to have you with us.
Great to be here.
So, Dean, Google, YouTube are facing a wave of angry protesters. We had companies like Mercedes-Benz, HSBC having their ads playing on Islamist websites, on other hate websites associated with neo-Nazis. How does this happen in the first place, that your ads get placed in this form?
Well, a lot of them aren't placed by a human. That's one thing for a start. So we have a very flawed system here that lacks lacks vetting procedures to be able to identify and remove those ads. And then the other side of that is you have a lot of development happening in the advertising industry where there's marketing automation. It's called programmatic. It's like the auto trading desks of Wall Street. This is where you can actually buy and place an ad in a split second across thousands of platforms. And that's where particularly this can go wrong. And that's the main reason.
Okay. Companies like Verizon obviously very unhappy about this, and they've pulled their ads. But do you think their brand has been impacted by this association?
I've always said that brands and their reputation are dictated by the company they keep. So if you find yourself next to these controversial ads, this online extremism, then yes, it looks very poorly upon you. But I think that's happened now, and now there's light being shone on it. Something's going to have to be done about it. So it will correct itself.
But wouldn't you only be seeing those ads if you were on those websites, if you were looking at jihadist websites in the first place? So you would only be seeing those ads, I imagine, if these are the values that you subscribe to if you're on those websites.
Well, absolutely there. But again, programmatic, you're looking at thousands of different providers. You know, New York Times, BBC are very credible providers, but there's hundreds and hundreds of them out there that aren't so credible. But advertisers are very keen to get their message out there, and they love the idea of this type of technology. But when the system's flawed and you don't have those technologies that identify and remove those ads, you have this huge risk, and now it's being realized.
Mercedes-Benz, HSBC, now associated by virtue of being placed on these platforms with jihadist groups. What can they do? What should they do?
Like I always say, it's best to behave, if this is a crisis situation for their brand, and behave like that. You know, first of all, react fast. They are reacting fast now, they know it. They need to be bold in their statement about what they demand from their advertising agencies and how they're placing those ads. And they have to be very honest with their consumers about the fact that this was not intended. It's just really clear, simple stuff to communicate. That's really it.
But how many people are likely to have seen those ads, as I say, because they're on sites that are used by jihadists or sites that promote extremism? So how many people like myself, like you, with values that are in line with what the values of HSBC would like to promote, would actually have seen these ads?
Not a large number, but I think, you know, one of the platforms that I won't say the name of a large agency holding company, they use a platform that creates 4.5 billion impressions a month.
Okay.
A month. So a human can't control that. That's a huge, vast number, and that's using technology to do it.
How bad is this for Google?
Well, they're damaged goods right now. I mean, this is something they've been too big to affect. They've always been this kind of one you can't touch, and now this suddenly strips them down a little bit. Is the brand not so powerful that it doesn't matter? People are still going to advertise on Google because of the results? Want that. Just because it's so prolific and it's so heavily used, they're going to want that, but they're going to want those controls in place. And it's all about algorithms and software. And so basically, these internet companies, the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Googles, need to do something with their algorithms so that this can actually be avoided going forward. So really, it's a simple idea. It's just very complicated. All right, Dean Crutchfield, thank you so much for joining us.